Hi paper crafters, let's watercolor a stunning card. You're first of all going to start with some Fluid 100 watercolor paper, which is a little heavier paper. And we're going to use our water painters as well as our Stampin' Spritzer for our card today. We're going to play with two different colors of ink, Pretty in Pink and our Summer Splash. So let's get started with our watercoloring. We're going to use the large brush, which holds enough water that we can work with it. Take a piece of your watercolor paper, the Fluid 100, and the measurements you can find in my blog at designwithjo.ca. And we are going to tape it down. I'm using my glass mat, which works great for this. If you have something that has grid lines on it, this is the way that you can really get straight lines with the masking tape. So you want to line up those lines, top and bottom, so that you're going to be able to have a straight line and you're not going to have to cut anything off. So I'm taking a little bit more time here so that we don't have to worry about having things in the wrong place. Now I did realize that that piece was on crooked, so I went ahead and took it off and I put it on again in the right place. So this is probably the more tedious part of this card, but once you see the end result, you are going to want to take that time. And once you've done it a couple times, it gets easier. Probably if I had a little bit longer masking tape, it'd be great. So what you want to do with your masking tape before you put it down is put it onto your jeans or a sweater and then take it off so that you remove a little bit of the stick. Now press it down well so that it has a really good seal. Then you're going to create a pool of color, and how you do that is you press on your stamp pad so that the pad itself actually goes against the plastic and you create a little pool of color. Now what we're going to do is we're first of all make sure you have a piece of paper towel so that you can sop up some ink if you have to. We're first of all going to spritz it with our spritzer, plain water, and I just put an arrow on mine where that spout is. And you want to be fairly high up when you're spritzing. Don't get too close to it. And it's just going to create a mist of water onto the cardstock, onto the watercolor paper actually. So now I'm taking my brush and I'm just going to move around a little bit of that water that's already on it. And then I'm going to pick up some of my Pretty in Pink. And I'm going to start in the top right and I'm going to paint it on. Now, if I have enough water on there, it should just start to blend. I need a little bit more. So I'm going to do another couple spritzes. Again, you want to be fairly high up. And you can really see the water pooling a little bit on the masking tape now. That means that my ink should flow a little bit better. So I'm going to create pink in the bottom and the bottom corner as well as in the top left, bottom right. And I'm going to bring these up a little bit. And then we are going to merge them together with another color. But first of all, what you want to do is you want to try and get a really light color down. You can always go in and add darker colors to it, and we're going to do that as well. But you want to get that light color down first. Now, if you have to add more water, so here I'm just adding a little bit of water. You can see it shining there, just a tiny little bit. Now, make sure you clean, before you move into your next color, clean off that pink. We want to have the true Summer Splash color come out. So you might need to press a couple times, but then go in and pick up your next color. And it's going to be a little darker intensity. But I'm going to go from the opposite corners this time. Top and bottom, same type of idea. If I have a little bit more water, it's going to move a little quicker. It'll start to blend into each other fairly quickly, as long as there's still some water on there. Now, cardstock will not work for this technique. It just doesn't have enough fibers in the paper for that ink to travel in the water. If you find that some inks are not working, it's not you. There are some pigments that really don't seem to work as well as others. So it's a little bit of trial and error. One thing you don't want to do, I'm using a really light touch on this paper. So you don't want to grind your brush in. Here I'm going to go in and I'm going to merge those colors a little bit. I'm going to clean my um, paintbrush before I do that. So I have just some plain water coming out. You can see how much green came out. And now I'm going to very lightly blend those colors just with plain paint, plain water. And this way you're going to have a nice transition from one color to the next. And you don't want to play with this too much. One thing to note, however, is that depending how dark it is, it will lighten up. So here's one that I've already done. And when you take off that masking tape, so you're going to set it aside to dry and then take off the masking tape. Then it's ready to use. So now we're going to make our card. So I've taken in a piece of basic gray, and I've also cut myself 2 pieces of cardstock in Pretty in Pink and Summer Splash. I'm going to put a piece of basic white just on the inside of the card to make it easy to write on. And you can always stamp or do some decorating on the inside if you want. We won't on this card, but there's so much opportunity that you can really play with. If you had another little piece of watercolor, it would look great on the inside. So we're also going to take another piece of our basic gray and run that through one of our brand new So Swirly embossing folders. And you can see that this is quite a large embossing folder. And I really like the swirl kind of look, the marbly kind of look, because I think it goes well with the watercolor here. So I've already embossed that. We're going to use a blending brush also with the basic gray, and we're going to just give it a tiny little bit of intensity along the edges. And you're going to just go all the way around with a circular motion, and you can see how that just creates a little bit of a darker edge to it, and it'll just allow it to stand out a little more. Attach that with some liquid glue. Just whenever you have something that has lots of ridges and bumps like this, your liquid glue or tear and tape or your Seal Plus really is going to be a better choice. So now we're going to add a little bit of interest to our watercolor. Decide which way you like it going the best. Our card is going to be a portrait style, and I've decided that I like that one the best. And then you're going to take your cardstock and you're going to attach it with liquid glue. Again, here you want something that has a lot of staying power. So you could use your tear and tape or your Seal Plus as well. Now you want to try and get that on as straight as possible. And you'll see here in just a moment that when I pull it up, mine is a little crooked. So I just push in on that bottom edge until I could get it straight. And that's why I use liquid glue. You're going to do the same thing with your pink, and I put that out so there's more pink showing than there is green. So what we're going to do now is we are going to stamp right over top, and this is the Thoughtful Wishes bundle, current in the 24-25 annual catalog. And there are some detailed dies like those gorgeous ones, and then there's ones that will go right around the images in the stamp set. We are going to stamp today. We are going to stamp with that darker one, and I'm going to use the basic gray, same as our card base, and I'm going to stamp right over top. Now you do need to be careful because your paper is a little bit thick, so you want to make sure you've got a good impression, but don't press down so hard that you're going to get a halo around your stamp. So there we go. Now we're going to stamp our words, and the words are I appreciate you. And this is just, you're going to take a longer piece of your basic white, stamp that on there, and then we're going to cut that down to size. We're going to cut it first just on the diagonal, a little bit to the left of the words, and then we are going to cut it also on the end in just a moment. Now you do want to put your dimensionals all the way around because this is a strong piece of paper. So put your dimensionals everywhere and then put that onto the left side of your card. So I'm going to trim this down so that the U doesn't have a lot of space right after it. Going to put a dimensional just on one edge only. So just where it ends, so where the U is, because everything else already has a dimensional, so we can put liquid glue for the other side. So there's my dimensional, and I'm going to put some liquid glue on here rather than on the card itself. And then I realized, just as I was about to put that down, I forgot one thing. So we're going to add a little embellishment in behind our greeting. And what I'm using here is the Baker's Twine Essentials. And there are 5, and just grab the last one here. There are 5 different colors, and I'm using the gray. There's white, sort of a crumb cake, an ivory, and a black. And the gray will work with a bunch of our grays, so it's generic enough. So pull off one of your mini glue dots and place that down onto the card about where you want to have your greeting. And this is how I create sort of a 3-pronged kind of embellishment. So I'm going to put the end, not quite the end, right into that glue dot. I'm going to create a little loop, put it in the glue dot again, a little bit bigger loop going off to the bottom and the right, and one more loop. And they're all going to come back and meet in that one place onto the mini glue dot. Now you want to clip very close to the glue dot here because your little label where your greeting is not that wide. So I need to use my take your pick just to get the other end, and I'm going to clip that off as well. Now we're going to put our words down right over top and try and get your dimensional to be not over top of the twine, just so that it has a better adhesion. So there we go, and we're going to add our shimmer gems in our in color, so in the pretty in pink. And here you want to have them be as close as possible. You want it really part of the embellishment itself. So you're going to go fairly close and put a couple different sizes. So there are 2 different sizes, and I like to tuck them underneath there. And then this last one is just down at the bottom. So there's your card. Again, if you wanted to do some stamping on the inside, go ahead and do that. Let me show you another version and a couple of the changes. So we have different color, that's gray granite, and we have 3 colors of ink here. So we're using Petunia Pop, Peach Pie, and Pretty in Pink. And it just shows you 3 colors blended together rather than 2, and I used rhinestones. So thanks very much for joining me. If you like this project, please subscribe to my channel. Also head on over to designwithjo.ca and click on the little freebie that you can get for a free PDF, and you can join my email. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.